I have always been traveling, whether it has been needed to accomplish goal, meet people, get to new places, revisit known places, or even places that made an impact in my life. Some call it memories. I call it imprints, impressions perhaps. What started with fragments from broken images was all it took for me to open my eyes and pinch the hunger for more. To be honest, really pretty much sane. I talked myself into the statement I don't need another one. First of all, space. How much I want to travel to space, it's something not possible now. It kind of reflects the physical position as well. But still, that pinch I got slowly morphed into a punch. The magical punch of something more, but at the same time, more special. Somehow, that punch started something inside of me. It was a very strong feeling, like a tiny fragment from my own past. One part of me drifted away fast, however, another part of me came closer. There was something about those images, telling me more than I knew. I felt connection, for some odd reason. And just that reason would be just that. The speculations were going wild. The most speculated was money, value, cash, while some started to guess the more interesting aspects. Technical, what is this? What are all the switches for? Where does it come from? This wasn't clickbait any longer. Not for me anyhow. It was that instance. The very same breath I spot one huge detail relieving. The code, the key to why I even got such a strong feeling to begin with. This computer had its roots from my childhood town, where I grew up at, where everything started from. This was just the very beginning. After doing most of my homework, checking the few details I could read from the images, it was time for me to make that phone call to the master who had designed and built the computer. He was really happy to know that his machine was still alive and someone had saved it. He gave me all the info there was to it. I even supplied him with details that he had kind of forgotten. To even try and compress a 40 minutes call would just be plain impossible, so yeah, what we were talking about, that is something I will share later. He told me though, the most expensive and time-consuming task was to design the actual case. He also told me that he had bought most of the components from the local electronics store, a place I know very well. Gosh, what a heavy beast. Wow. So many details. Wow. This is just getting good. Oh. What is this? Let's try and turn it around. Oh wow, this is huge. This is really, really cool. Okay. Alright. I definitely need to go inside. But first, I just want to go through something. I want to talk about the case, about the design, how this was made. because during that phone call, he told me quite some information about the case, that he had been going to a very, very, very known workshop and had this case made for him out of his design. And as we can see here, he has really thought things through. Lots. He really knew what he was up to when he made this design. I guess this is the time when the lid is going off. Oh wow, this is amazing. Look at that work. All this. This is it. Yeah, like I was told, this has a lot of RAM inside. And if we are looking here, but ew, what's that nasty smell? Oh no. Oh no, it smells like rotten fish. Oh no. Oh no. Let it not be true. Let it not be true. Wait a minute. This is not the smell I recognize. No, this is not burnt electronic. This is not the electrolyte smell. Oh yeah. Snap, I just remember. When I picked up this computer, the guy, he had been cooking something with fish, and the whole apartment smelled fish. Now that was a relief. I mean, when I lift the lid on this one, I didn't really know what to expect, but this... wow, this is just pure beauty, I can tell you. What we're seeing here is something that is very, very clever design. I totally love this design, I can tell you. From an engineer perspective, this is the purest beauty I have ever seen. The actual board that was used to create the RAM expansion, the monitor's EEPROM, the Motorola MC6820L2, the 0SC character card, and the bridge to the 3 extended user ports was a Velo Electronics Eurocard DIP board number 101372G. That specific model is dated from 1977, so it was pretty much hard to find information about that board or detailed pictures. However, I think you can pretty much see what it looks like from my own pictures. So when looking at the actual switches, we can see that there are 2 switches here. One is having a white little nipple on, so to speak, and one is non-nippled. In this state, when this one is pointing down, it means the user port number 1 is active, while switching it up, like so, it means that the RS232 interface is activated. And to change the RS232 parity, you could choose to have it in normal mode or inverted mode. This port here you connect to the TV, and this one here you connect to the monitor. This one contains composite out, and this is the RF modulated signal. And last but not least, these 2 connectors here. I was so sure that this one would be the drive connector, aka the serial connector, and this would be for the video out. But boy, I was wrong. It turned out that this was indeed, or is indeed, the serial interface. But this one, however, is for the tape. It wouldn't have been the best idea in town to start to connect the monitor to this one and expect to get video out. Once again, it's good to do the homework and do it properly. And here are the fancy details about how the memory is working as well. If you had it set like this, it means that it allocates block number 0, and by doing this, it means that the whole memory expansion is turned off. However, if you switch it in the 3rd mode, like so, it means that the whole RAM board is enabled. And we can also see that here you have user port number 2. And to look at these 2 switches, we can see directly that this one over here, that is to turn the VIC chip into 40 or 80 columns mode. This one here is to change the RAM address from 8000 to 4000. When looking at the actual RAM expansion, the first thing we see are a bunch of 4-bit static CMOS RAM at 10,024 words. They are in a bank of 2 by 12 rows. There is also an additional bank of 2 by 2 rows. These are the same ICs as the previous bank. This expansion and the way it is constructed makes it possible to switch between 8 KB and 16 KB of RAM. This is done by one of the switches or could even be done with a system command. The other RAM bank is a 2 by 2 array of 2048 word 8-bit high-speed CMOS RAM to make up to an impressive amount of 64K of RAM. In total, we would then get 64K and 16K of RAM, which is pretty much crazy for a Vic20. There were only a few programs that would climb up and use all the 64 KB, however. Sometimes life wasn't easy for the Vic20. If you had an unexpanded Vic20, you would have the basic start at 40097, but if you installed a 3K expansion, the basic would then get moved to a lower address and start at 1025. However, to make it a little bit more complicated, if you install an 8K RAM expansion, the basic would then climb up and start at 4609. So this would mean if you had an unexpanded Vic20 or a 3K expansion, the screen memory and the color memory would be not affected. But if you install an 8K expansion, the screen memory and the screen color memory would get moved. So this was very tricky, and this was also why the games were designed to run at an either 3K expansion or an 8K expansion. Alright. The next processor here, or actually integrated circuits, is the MC6820L2, and that one has two purposes as far as I'm aware of. One is to work as an MPU and function as an UART for the RS232 interface. And the last thing is a tiny connector saying normal and 8 KB RAM. ROM pass. This will probably be used in some special occasion because you have to lift the shirt to even access it. Even after I had kind of had that phone call and he told me about the details, all the wiring he had done on the circuit board, and that he even took it one step further and installed a kind of chart set generator. I didn't know what I was expected when I actually opened up the board and I took it out. If we're zooming in just a little bit here. Alright, this is kind of cool. What this is, that is the actual chart set generator for 80 columns. And this little chip here is the firmware. And if we are looking here, we can see that the chart set generator is dated from 84/11/12. And when looking at the board, just look at this. Look at all the wires going here. It's an incredible work, I can tell you. This work is handcrafted. This is no way an amateur doing his first kind of soldering work. No, this is almost insane, and I would be damned if I removed this circuit board to show you more. Alright, so I just had to show you this. Look at that amazingly soldering work. I mean, just imagine the amount of hours spent doing this. I am speechless, actually. It's not many times I'm getting speechless, but this is... Oh, I'm almost getting emotional, because I can see how much love and heart it is put into this machine. Wow, it's just such an amazing thing. When carefully removing that extended board, we can see that these connectors here and there are actually the connectors going onto the board. And this is perhaps one of the first modular computers ever built. If we are, like I said, lifting those connectors off, we can see that this board beneath here, under the cable nest, is a bit of a logic card. Or board, actually. What this board is doing is kind of unknown, but I see some kind of familiar circuits there. One is a logic gate and one is a simple and quad 2 input NAND gate thing. And this fancy board is the actual RS-232 interface. I can recognize it because I built one of these myself for my Commodore 64 machine. Black and having a Commodore logo on it. What can it be? What can it be? Of course, it's the PSU. I mean, this man, he was smart enough to use the chipped PSU that came with the Vic20 to expand it to just drive the computer. And if we are looking here and here, that's for the extensions, for the external boards. However, this machine wasn't going to stop there. I mean, when you can, why pull the handbrake? So, the designer, he decided to put up with an RS-232 inverter and normalizer. Normalizer, I should say normal. In this case, it was also important to be able to change the port from being normal and inverted. I guess it has to do with how the protocol was sent and read from the different machines. Because usually you didn't have to worry about the parity of the signal being sent. But in this case, why not? So he decided to design a circuit to be able to change the parity. Alright, so after spending about 15 minutes to disassemble this thing, I was actually able to open this one up. I'm gonna try and do this as careful as possible, because I don't want to destroy anything in here, you know. What I assumed was that this is just a standard Vic20 that has nothing on board. And if we are opening it up, we can see that, yeah, that's for sure. Sorry, but it's so dusty in here. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually just as good as new. I am so amazed how clean this one is. Wow, this is magic. Let's just close it. Now it was time to face the truth, or actually the moment of truth. Would this machine even turn on? Even though I had made my homework pretty well, checked up the PSU, it was still a bit of that nervous moment. But I turned it on anyway. Booting up perfectly fine, and we can see that the RAM board is working perfectly. This is very nice. So I wanted to try the other mode as well. Oh yeah, it's working very well. This machine is really a powerhouse, that's for sure. When first looking at the Commodore Vic20, I saw something that was fascinating. There were some labels printed all over the case, the top of the case actually. One said monitor on new RAM and some kind of repeat trigger. I wanted to try this out, so I knew that by entering this monitor you had to type in the sys command, so let's do that. Yeah, the monitor is working. To enter block 0, I just had to inspect the address 2000. it should be kind of random filled with stuff. That's for sure. And to enter block 2, I just inspect this area. And this one should also be empty. By inspecting block 3, I just have to go to 6000. And this should contain something. This is actually where the monitor is allocated. And you can see that, yeah, that's for sure. So if I would type go 6000, we should go into the monitor. Yeah, that's correct. So everything is working just as thought here. And if we are entering block 4, which is allocated at 8000, we should see some kind of funny characters. Because this is where the Vic20 is keeping its, let's see now so I get this straight, the I/O and the screen color memory and the screen memory and the VIC/VIA chip and the character ROM. And everything, yeah, it looks really, really great. And just because I can, I wanna look what that little unnew routine is doing. And we can see that it's actually doing exactly as I explained earlier on. It is kind of bouncing up the RAM into another part of the RAM. And we can also see here that there is something written here. Let's see if we can reveal that. This was really, really cool. By disassembling the whole EEPROM, or actually whatever it is, we can even see when this one was burned. This one is real cool, and you can even reveal the author's name, although I have been asked to not reveal his name. When turning on the Vic20 using that composite out mode, I was amazed. Look at that sharp, that crystal sharp picture. It was incredible. I wanted to try this, and I wrote myself a little program. This program would try out the sound chip and see if it's working alright. So let's give it a go, shall we? Yeah, it sounds good. That is very, very nice to know that the sound chip is working. And now I also wanted to try out that unnew function to know exactly what it was all about. So I did this by doing a simple little cold restart here. Boom! And we can see that the memory is clear. So if I would type in that little unnew routine, let's see, like so. It says ready, but is it ready? Yep, there is my new program, or old program. And does it work? Only one way to find out. Yeah, it gave me a fantastic nice explosion. However, by looking at the code, we can see that this is something a bit, how to say, this is getting a little bit unreadable. So I knew that this has a little character board installed, and I wanted to try out, does it work? Can I access that 80 columns mode? Just one way to find out. Oh yeah, it worked really fine, extraordinarily fine, so I had to try and write that program again. There we go, the program is looking fine. Yeah, I know, I was cheating a little bit because I used some shortcodes, but if we're listening it again, we can see that everything is looking fine. And here at line 20, we can see that now we have more than 20 columns. I had to run this as well, of course. When unboxing the computer, I came across a little cartridge called the Beauty, or Beauty. Beauty was a remarkable cartridge for its time. It really had all the things that the programmer would need. The Beauty cartridge was manufactured and distributed in the UK by Audiogenic back in 1982. When reading some articles about the cartridge, the first thing crossing my mind was the price range. it was ridiculous high. It could go from $65 till $75. That was a lot of money back in the days. So there was a little competitor called the Programmer's Aid. The Programmer's Aid and the Beauty, they were kind of fighting it off, so to speak. The Programmer's Aid was about half the price, but with some disadvantages. The thing was with the Beauty that it came with an extra 3 kilobyte of RAM, which wasn't in the Programmer's Aid. If you wanted to have more RAM to your Programmer's Aid, you were forced to buy an 8 kilobyte, and by now the price would be just about as much as the Beauty. But if you really wanted to use everything at the same time, you were forced to have one of these, so you could have the Programmer's Aid installed and the RAM cartridge installed at the same time. So now that $65-75 was very much a good price, consider that if you had to buy these two cartridges and this expansion board, it will cost you probably around $140. Now it was only one thing more to do, and that was to explore that Beauty cartridge. By typing help, you could reach out for the commands, and you can see that we have quite a lot of useful commands here. I hope you have been enjoying this documentary of this Vic20. For me, this has been a very, very, very good journey. If you made it this far to reach the end of this documentary, for me this is just the pure beginning of something new, something more to be untold. The next step for me, however, when it comes to this Vic20 is to go through some of the components. I realized that the PSU was kind of unstable sometimes. It gave me some faulty startup sequences and stuff like that, so I need to change the capacitors. But yeah, as you can see, it's still going strong, and I want it to go strong for another 30 years, so that is why it's very important to do a procedure called recap. Me personally, I'm going to do it myself, because I feel that this Vic20 I know inside out now, but there's always more to explore. Thank you for watching this documentary, and thank you for your time to listen to all my babbling, all my stories, all my documentary, all my research, and everything else. But it's life when you're doing everything yourself, and I mean, personally, this is just me. For ordinary people, however, it maybe has been more like happy to see the computer, turn it on, turn it off, and put it into the basement again. But that's not me. That's definitely not me. I wanted to go to the bottom with this, and so I did. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in another one. Bye!